Welcome to the Night's Watch, folks. I'm Jacob.
I'm Alex.
And Alex, it is that time of year, the time of year I like to call, fuck you, it's January!
Fucking the January slump. I'm about to do what the kids call crashing out.
I'm going to crash out. Yeah. It's been pretty bad.
Yeah.
We've lost, at the time of this recording, we've lost, was it 5 of our last 6? Or 6
We
of
only
our last
beat
7?
we only beat the Wild a week ago.
Yeah, and that was the Wild missing all their best players.
Yeah, and we barely won. And then we promptly lost to the 2 worst teams in the league and the Canes. And also, am I missing one?
So we lost to Islanders, Rangers.
I mean, after the Wild game. We went on a 3-game road trip, right? Was that only 3 or 4 games?
We went on a 3-game road trip.
Yeah, I mean, we lost all 3 of those games.
Yeah, in regulation.
In regulation. And then before that, the Wild game, we lost to the Rangers, who are doing better. Mm-hmm. And we lost to the Islanders, who are doing the same they were doing. I just don't know what it's about this team, is that we always have this January slump. Well, it's like a team tradition, right?
Should we? Well, we're on a podcast, so we should. Let's postulate on that.
Yeah.
Let's speculate on that. Why?
Yeah.
I offered an explanation on our group chat the other night. To me, I think it's just a combination of factors of, one, a little bit of tiredness because they've been playing at a high pace the whole first few months of the season.
Yeah.
I also think it's complacency, frankly.
Yeah, a little bit, because you think you could just win night in, night out, but you also think you can just be good after the All-Star break and just accelerate. We've seen it happen in the last since COVID. In the last, that's 4 years now. It's going on 5. In the last 4 full seasons, we've seen it happen 3 times. One of those times was very successful. We were, like you said the other night, our cup-winning season, we were 1-8 in January.
Yeah,
we were awful in January.
I want to amend that. I don't think that was in January. I think that was like the second half of January and the first half of February.
Yeah, but we were.
If you look up the January numbers, it doesn't reflect that.
Yeah, the beginning
through that stretch leading up to the All-Star game.
Start of the new year to the All-Star game were pretty fucking awful.
Yeah.
And then same thing happened with the year we missed the playoffs. We were chugging. And then we were in first.
We were in first at the All-Star
break. And then
we missed the fucking playoffs.
Yeah, and then we just didn't turn around. And
the second to last game of the season.
And last year was more of a mixed bag, right? We were in first, and then we hung around. And we obviously gave Dallas everything we could give them. But
we never went on a run.
We
just kind of hovered around 500 until the end of the season.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like after this, the All-Star break's going to be coming up here in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And
4 Nations break.
Yeah, 4 Nations break, and we're gonna, we're gonna have to figure out something. Like, I would like to, not like to. They need to win tomorrow against St. Louis.
Yeah.
They need to win at, I would say at least half of their games before the All-Star break. It's not very many, but we need to win a good amount of those to even keep pace with the Oilers and the Kings. We lucked out last night, and the Oilers lost to Vancouver, and the Kings lost to Seattle. We're not going to be lucky every night.
Yeah.
And we had the easiest matchup of all 3 top teams. We had the fucking Blackhawks.
The 2024-2025 Chicago Blackhawks.
A team that is awful, terrible. And you know what I've noticed? I know I was high on him earlier, but Sammy's been bad.
Yeah, he's kind of falling apart.
Like the Canes game was Hill, and Hill had a pretty good game.
It was a very close game,
very close, very defensively played game.
In a vacuum, if you say, we lost to the Canes, was it 3-2?
3-2 was super close.
Yeah, in a vacuum, if you say we lost to the Carolina Hurricanes 3-2, I'd be like, okay,
that's not bad. Yeah,
understandable.
It was a very close game. I watched the whole thing. It was a super close game. Had they just got a timely goal, right? Mm-hmm. And they look good. The team looked good. It was a high level played defensive game. Mm-hmm. No notes. You win those. You win those games. You lose those games. It happens. It's a tight game. But against the Predators, they were up 4-0, and fucking God sent
that game
was
the worst.
Was the worst of all 3 road trips.
Pathetic.
It was awful, and it took.
Absolutely fucking pathetic.
It took the last 30 minutes of the game and Pavel Dorofeyev and Tomas Hertl to do anything to get that game remotely close.
Yeah. And even then, like...
it didn't feel close either.
It didn't, and Millar had said this on the Insider show, and I agreed. He was like... And even then, it didn't feel like Vegas was, like, doing anything to make a push. It was more like they just went from not playing to playing a normal game.
Yeah, like
and
our normal game.
The Preds are so bad that they let 3 in.
That's what I mean. Our normal game, like a normal level Vegas game, like you just play their normal brand of hockey. You're better than half the league already, just because the way the system works and how good these players are. And you play that system to a little bit higher level, you're beating almost every team night in, night out, or at least they're going to be super close, like against the Canes. But I don't know what it is. Like the Preds are a thing where we just don't have a good record against them.
Yeah, they always seem to fucking speed back us. But this was
bad. It's different that when they speed back us, that this team has been good. The Preds have been good.
Yeah,
and this team has been dog shit. They had somebody named like some fucking Blakenberg playing defense.
Yeah, I literally didn't know who that was. And then double check the numbers in the first period. So as a reminder, we had 1 shot in the first period.
Yeah.
We had 2 shot attempts.
Yeah. It was
and then
the worst period of hockey we've played all year. Probably the worst period of hockey we've played in a long fucking time.
I think this is the worst period of hockey we played since like late February 2020 against the LA Kings.
Yeah.
I only remember that because I was at that game and we got dummied like 4-0 in the opening period.
Yeah.
And also, me and my stepdad had to deal with an obnoxious Kings fan in the parking lot. And then also COVID happened like a week later.
Oh, I think I was at that game too.
That was the last game that I went to before it got shut down.
Yeah.
So I think it was the last game.
Yeah,
before it got
I
shut
think
down.
I was at that game too.
Oh, well, that's funny. But yeah, anyways, that's burned in my brain.
Yeah.
That was also when everyone was convinced that Phoenix Copley was the next coming of the net in LA.
But yeah, that it was because at the end of that period, Jack Eichel had a breakaway. His trademark because he's just so good. I mean, again, I'm not saying anything against some of the players, but Jack Eichel had his trademark burst of speed, beat the defender, curve around to go forehand, backhand forehand to the goalie. And I think it rolled off a stick. He rolled off a stick, or a Noonan just like kind of poke checked it a little bit, and they took that off of as a shot.
Yes,
but 1 shot on goal
and
against the fucking Nashville Predators.
And it can't be emphasized enough that single shot was a dump in from behind the red line.
Yeah,
that just happened to go. It was goal.
And
to quote Dave Gosher, in what might be the most generous interpretation of a shot on goal.
It was the worst 35 minutes of hockey I've ever seen this season. It might be one of the worst, like you said, other than like that Kings game period for Golden Knights. It was terrible, and
I'm pretty sure we went down 3-0 before we got the third shot.
We were down 3-0, and then fucking Pavel Dorofeyev starts cruising, and then of course, just like this fucking Blackhawks game, we let the game-winning goal in on some fucking bullshit. Like
exactly, and that's the thing. It's like, if you're going to have a chance to come back, like you got to draw a line in the sand.
Yeah.
Like, we're not letting another one in.
Yeah.
We cannot let another one in. This hill is already too steep.
I was sitting at the bar last night. We went to Mackenzie River over in downtown Summerlin.
Mm-hmm.
And, after that first period, I'm sitting there. I'm just like, I'm going to fucking just walk out in the street and get ran over by someone going 50 miles an hour. And obviously, my wife's having fun because she's like just drinking Coors and playing on her phone and eating snacks and everything. But I'm just sitting there, and I lock eyes with this old guy. I look to my right, and this old guy's in that. You remember that the hoodie I have from the Winter Classic? That's just the V.
Yeah.
He's in this hoodie, and he's eating his like pizza or whatever, drinking his like water. And we lock eyes for a brief second. We're both like, "We'll kill each. What are we doing?"
Murder suicide pact.
Exactly.
Suicide pact?
And then obviously they came back a little bit, and of course, same thing that happened in the Preds game. We let the foot off the gas for 1 second, and they they get easy goals, right? And
I don't want to dump on the guy, but let me pull up
Samsonov.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure at one
he's
point
not been good.
I'm pretty sure it was 4 goals and 16 shots.
Yeah.
And then I think the 5th goal was like on the 19th
Yeah.
shot.
He was bad against the Blackhawks. And again, defense wasn't that good, but also there's some saves he should have made. Mm-hmm. He should have covered. That's something I've noticed about him is that his rebound control is not nearly as good as Aiden Hill's.
Yeah, the way I always phrase it is his decision making.
Yeah.
As to when to play the puck, when to cover,
yeah,
when to put it in the corner.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it seems he just makes the wrong decision.
The wrong decision, and it happened both against the Preds and the Blackhawks. And that's not to say that Hill hasn't had his stinkers. He has. The Islanders game, he was in net for the Islanders game, and he just wasn't very good. But then Sammy was in net for the Rangers, right? And Sammy had a pretty damn good game against the Rangers. Mm-hmm. But I think that goes back to what we talked about is consistency. If this team can be consistently, their game plan and execute the game plan. You're not going to execute it every single night, right? No, there's no team that can do that. There's no team that is doing that right now. But if you can at least have some kind of ounce of fucking execution some nights, you're gonna have a close game or at least win most of those games.
Well, yeah, and it's just last week. It's what we were praising this team for, the winning culture.
Yeah,
they take it seriously.
Yeah,
but again, like I mentioned earlier, I do think here's my kind of thesis. Mm-hmm. So, a common theme with this team when you hear new players get asked about it or whatever. A common, guys that are in the room or, media guys that are at every practice. A common theme last year, this year, the year before is this is a team with zero panic in their game, which is good because teams with panic in their game lose a lot, fucking Buffalo and Seattle. And
teams that have to,
those teams where, something goes wrong and they're like, oh, here we go again. And then they fall apart. So that's a common theme. But then also a common theme is sometimes... there probably should be panic in your game. There probably should be a sense of urgency and a sense of desperation, and sometimes it just doesn't come.
Yeah, or it comes way too late.
And then something that Shane says all the time, Shane Knighty, one of the TV guys, he always says, they truly feel that they can win on any given night, and it's great when you go down a goal and you're not panicking because you want to keep playing your game.
Sure,
but also. Like I said, that confidence can turn into overconfidence, can turn into complacency.
Yep.
And did you listen to Bruce's presser last night after the game?
No, I was too depressed to.
Well, I was trying to digest that giant meal.
Yeah.
But anyways, really interesting quote. So he's been getting increasingly frustrated. And I feel I feel like people characterize him as an angry. I don't think he's an angry guy. I don't think he goes in there and yells.
He's a frustrated guy, yeah. Because he knows this team can be better, and they are better than losing the fucking Blackhawks 5-3.
Yeah, and so last night, it's a road game, so the only people asking questions were, Gary and Ashley and Dave and
right.
Guys. And so Lawless said something, or Cassidy said something to the effect of. When's this going to end? He's like, well, when they get sick of losing and do something about it. It's we're not putting out fires quickly enough. We're not playing with enough urgency. And Gary said, hating to lose, is that something that you can help with as a coach, or is it just on them? And Cassidy almost seemed a little offended. He was like, yeah. He's like, I try to help with that. And this is the quote that perked my ears. He said, listen, I drag this team into the fight every freaking night. And I'm like, that's not good.
No.
Because to me, that's almost what it seems like. It seems like he's getting frustrated from trying to find new ways to walk into that locker room and get them to fucking listen and get them to execute and get them to play with urgency and play like they give a fuck.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, that's the coach's job. It is the coach's job. He even said so. He's like, well, I'm the coach. That's my job.
Yeah.
I'll do it every single day and be happy doing it. But at the same time, that was a thing with DeBoer. That was a thing with Gallant.
But that's also the thing
it's just this key component of this team is overconfidence, overpassing, trying to be too cute offensively.
And that's the thing that kind of gets me though. The roster's turned over, and you shouldn't have team members that kind of have that same mindset anymore, right? Because most of that locker room has turned over. I mean, even just from the cup winning team from 2 years ago, it's a good amount of turnover, right? And from those DeBoer days and from the Gallant days too, like there's what two players that are left really from those teams. And sure, Stone's been on the team for a little bit. Jack Eichel's it's only in his third year on the team, but there's been turnover with the players to where how does that kind of like seep in and keep being that thing that we always talk about is like this team knows it can be. It's like that quote we talk about when they won the cup and they beat Dallas. Lawless was talking to one of the color commentators, and he was like, "Can this team this team is really that good?" And Lawless is like, "Yeah, when they want to be."
Exactly. That's another great quote to sum it up. They are that good when they want to be.
Yeah, because like it was like that game, like deciding game 6 or something against Dallas, and then we just purely dismantled them for 60 minutes.
Yeah, it's like you could tell they just decided like, okay, this has gone on long enough, and then they just fucking pulled the Mortal Kombat fatality on them.
It's the same thing against Florida too. Other than that one game that Florida won in overtime, all those games were high level execution games, and
because it's like they're like, hey guys, it's the finals. Let's just get this over with.
Yeah, like it's like, do you guys need some kind of incentive to win these games? I can give you an incentive. If you guys keep losing the way you're losing, you're going to be wild card 1 or 2.
Exactly. Oh, and that's the thing I was going to bring up earlier, because you mentioned like, well, in the cup year, we had this slump, and then after the All-Star break, we were on fire, finished first in the West, and got all these favorable matchups and home ice on every round. On the flip side, last year we didn't come out of it. We just played mediocre to the end of the stretch. Yeah,
and we were wild card 2. Got fucking Dallas.
We had to play Dallas in the first round. And then, I feel like we didn't truly get to our game until like game 6.
Yeah.
By then it was too late. All we could do was we kept ourselves alive for one game and then lost one goal game. But that was after getting steamrolled for 3 straight.
Yeah. And that's the thing though. Like in that cup year, Edmonton wasn't this good. LA wasn't as good as they are now. We're lucking out that Vancouver has been really rough, right? And started out slow. I know they beat the Oilers last night, but Demko has been injured and their backup Lankinen's coming back down to earth from.
And apparently they're on the verge of trading
JT Miller. Yeah, and Calgary's coming back down to earth pretty quickly. We're lucky that those two teams are slow, like just aren't good. But the Centrals. It's a crazy. A team that's going to have
Colorado's back.
Yeah, a team that's going to have probably over 100 points is going to be the wild card 1 from the Central.
Yeah,
it's going to be like it could be one of any 4 of those teams right now. Like, and Dallas has been really good, and they've been surging. And Colorado's back, right? And all those that one of those 4 of those teams is going to be wild card 1, and I don't want to be fucking Edmonton.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Or us or LA to get fucking Colorado or Dallas in the first round.
Yeah, no.
Or Minnesota or like a variety of
Winnipeg.
Any 4 of those teams could win the division. It could fall as far as wildcard 1. That's how tight those 4 teams are.
Yeah.
And then wildcard 2 is up for grabs, but and you don't know if like Utah can go on a run. St. Louis can go on a run. St. Louis has been better with Montgomery on the team. The talent level is not as nearly as there as the rest of the division, but Utah is also young and flying now. Yeah. And
what if Vancouver trades JT Miller and suddenly Elias Pettersson starts scoring fucking 3 points a game?
True. I mean, I don't know about that. He's been awful. I think it matters more on their defense and goaltending. Their defense has been fucking atrocious. It's just Quinn Hughes trying to keep everything together.
Afloat,
yeah,
it's fucking 30 minutes a night.
Yeah, Quinn Hughes is fucking dying out there. The rest of that defense is awful. But I mean, you don't know. Like a team can get hot. Like look at Montreal. Like I know they we had to talk about that, but they've gotten hot. They're obviously coming back down to earth after what happened last night. But did you see what happened?
Oh yeah, they were up
a 3-0, 7 unanswered goals.
Yeah, that
7.
was to me the funniest part was there was this clip that got posted when it was still 3-0, and everyone's like, oh Montreal,
uh-huh.
And then someone posted a clip of Reeves was
I saw that
going at Jack Eye, and Jack Eye pulled the old scoreboard on him.
First period,
pointing at the scoreboard. Yeah, point at that fucking scoreboard again, Jack Eye.
7-3, 7 unanswered goals. Like, I know we talk about
Lane Hudson was a -5.
-5. How?
Because he didn't head fake enough.
But I was trying to.
He wasn't skating enough.
I was trying to think of like the math. I'm like, but he's -5. But Mike Matheson and all the guys that he's paired with were like -1s or -2s. How is he?
Because they probably kept throwing him out there.
Yeah,
in increasingly desperate situations.
Exactly. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like, give the kid a break. He's like fucking 20 years old. Like, but I know we talk about that in slumps, and slumps happen. Everybody goes through a slump. I think Edmonton started the year on a slump. LA's lost, not recently, but they went through a little slump there in the middle. I just want to get it out of the way now and hope it doesn't continue because.
Well, I agreed, and I feel like on the group chat, our resident Anaheim fan was laughing. He's like, geez, like you guys lose a few games and you start falling apart. And
I know. I
realize we look like spoiled little brats right now.
It is.
But at the same time, I'm mainly basing this off previous trends.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm like, all I'm saying is, 2 of the last 3 years, it wasn't a slump, it was a collapse.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's starting to smell more and more like a collapse.
Yeah, exactly. It's just they have to work on the right things. I think the break is going to help with that. I mean, I think it's going to help that.
Well, and that's another trouble too. It's a break, but not for our 6 best players.
Yeah, but then they're going to have the fire to come back and play. You would hope they have the fire to come back and be like, you know what? I like the way that felt. I want to win some more. Yeah. Right? Because we've got a lot of guys.
What if Team USA wins and suddenly Mark Stone and Jack Eichel just fucking hate each other?
I would hope not. I think it comes down to nation stuff, but like you still have to go back to your teams.
Maybe we'll both lose early, and the gold medal game will be
like Sweden and Finland. That'd be hilarious. Then
everyone will hate Carlson.
Yeah, as we get closer, we can talk more about it. But I feel like it can go a variety of ways. But got kind of back to that point of it kind of feels like you said like I'm an Anaheim fan. You guys will be fine, but also coming back to that point of like there are some bright spots. I know we're losing, but there's that whole concept we talk about where a lot of the Golden Knights, like reporters and beat reporters and other news sites and everything, they've said like where is the secondary scoring coming from if that first line dries up? Tomas Hertl's been scoring his ass off.
Yeah,
Pavel Dorofeyev has been scoring. Olofsson scored last night. Theo is holding it down, and there's secondary scoring coming, and it's coming in a lot of it's not. We're not losing these games aside from the Canes 3-2. We're losing these games fucking 5-3 and 4-3. We're scoring. It's just the defense and the goaltending isn't keeping up. It'll dry up, and we all know that score. Look at Martin Netschus. Like he hasn't done anything. It went a long time, and he started off so hot, and he was leading the league in scoring there for like a good month.
Yeah,
and he's just during the Canes game I saw a stat he hasn't scored a goal like in 12 games or something like that, and like 1.9 games. Like it just he just dries up. It happens, and it's gonna happen. They're gonna game plan for your top line or for you. But I do really like that. Like as much as we had issues with Hertl early on, he's really starting to feel
he's
into himself.
He's really starting to look like the
Hertl of
the Hertl as advertised.
Yeah, the San Jose Tomas Hertl. Like he's looking stronger on the puck. His passes are better. He's looking better defensively. Pavel Dorofeyev is looking great. Like
and he had a long slump because he went like 11 or 12 without scoring.
Yeah, and he's looked really good. That line together is. In this week, that Hertl, Olofsson, Dorofeyev line's been our best line.
Well, they've been like I don't want to say the only line, but they've
contributed the most.
Exactly. They've been the main contributors.
Like the Wall line with Wall back has looked very, very good with Pearson and Kolesar, and they get very close on scoring every time they're out, and which I love. I think when we talked about this, like. Do you if this continues to the All-Star break, right? Because we have probably 5 games, give or take, or not the All-Star 4-nation break. Excuse my small Vegas mind, but into the Four Nations break.
Excuse that Clark County School District education.
I can't remember things as hard. But it goes to the break. Do you consider? We talked about this the other day. Do you break up Eichel and Stone, Eichel and Barbashev? Like,
I would do it literally the next game.
Yeah. Like, do you try something else? Like,
yeah. The only two that I would not break up right now is Hurdle and Dorofiev.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even break up Olofsson from them because they've been chugging so well together. I mean, maybe put Barbashev in Olofsson's spot. Maybe go Eichel, Olofsson, and like, I don't know.
I feel like really I would put
switch Stone.
I would just put Olofsson with Eichel and Barbashev, and then I would put Stone with Carlson and Howden.
Yeah. But that means
and then Dorofiev, Hurdle,
maybe with Kolesar, and then put Schwint down there because Kolesar and Hurdle are good together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kolesar is still fast enough to where you can contribute,
and also. I don't know if you saw this fun little stat,
mm-hmm.
but the clear glue of this team is Alexander Holtz because the two games he wasn't in the lineup, we lost both those games.
Yeah, I don't. It's not that he was like doing anything remarkable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then again, Schwinn hasn't been a problem. Like,
well, here's my feeling on both of them. Neither of them have produced like literally at all.
Yeah, no, totally.
Holtz has 2 goals and Schwinn still doesn't have a goal.
Yeah.
But neither of them are hurting too much.
No.
So I think, Cassidy's thought was like, well, Schwink can play a bottom 6 role a little better.
Yeah, he totally can. Can. Yeah, I agree.
But even then, like, and that's another thing to talk about, I know we're a little bit off, but this team obviously is missing something.
Yeah, I think they're missing a bona fide energy bottom sixer. You know what I mean? Like we talked about last week. We're missing a guy that of all the guys that we listed all can bring that, right? We're missing a guy that's like that, but also not 22.
Yeah.
We're missing a veteran that can do that. Like like we said, Yanni Gore, Tanev, Nelson, Greenway, like all those guys that we listed are that guy. And they're a veteran.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of experience. And whereas Holtz and Schwint are 22 years old. They're kids.
Yeah.
they're on an RFA deal.
They don't have that man strength yet.
Yeah, no, you need that. You need a big body vet like that. And and we just don't have that in the AHL either. Lachinsky came in, did all right, but nothing amazing. And I mean at a certain point, call me crazy, but just start just testing guys out if it's not working. Like, you know what I mean? Like bring up Lavoie, see how he does a game. Mm-hmm. Somebody that's big, like we put Denisenko in. I'm like, what? Nothing against Gregory Denisenko, but he's kind of like a Brendan Brisson, and he needs top 6 minutes.
I saw a report that he's planning to go back to Russia next year.
Oh, I fully expect it. He just hasn't panned out. He doesn't want to be in the AHL. I don't blame him. I mean, personally, Henderson's pretty nice if I was an AHLer. It could be worse. He could be in Bakersfield.
Exactly. Yes.
But I don't blame him. And plus,
fucking Milwaukee in the middle of winter.
Milwaukee or Cleveland. It could be. Yeah, you could be a lot of places. But he obviously lives there. In the off season, so he's probably going to want to go back home and play for a KHL team. I mean, I don't blame him. Daniel Chayka is already with a Russian team. Mm-hmm. It happens with some of these guys. Not all Russians are going to work out, right? And I think I saw that same post where like, here's all the Russians that are posting, and here's the Russians that are going back.
Yeah,
it was a good amount. Like Fedotov's going back.
He's barely been here for a year.
He's been awful. Awful. So
God, yeah, Philly's entire goaltending system is awful.
But that's and we don't have that much luck with Russians. I say that now because I know we got Barbashev and Dory, right? Barbashev was a trade, and Dory was in the system, but I think the difference with both of those guys, they're already hardworking guys anyways.
Yeah.
Like it's that perennial stereotype with Russian players or Russian forwards. Like they're all flashy and they got to have all these things. I'm like, we've had a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
Like we've had a lot of those Russian prospects and guys that are likely like Ivan Morozov, Denisenko, Chayka, Gusev and Shiplikov, all those guys that we had. It's like, like clearly two are working out right now, but that kind of that idea follows a lot of Russian players because it's it's only a stereotype if it wasn't true.
Exactly. And then like, I know Chayka was a draft pick, but it's like with Dorofiev, I'm like, well, he was a draft pick and he was fully developed in our system. He didn't come over from the KHL. Sometimes I think that can be a big culture shock, both on ice and off ice, for guys that come over.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of hard like that. I think it's harder for like Russian players versus not harder, but it's harder to project Russian players than like Finnish, Swedish.
Yeah,
because they're also under wraps. I mean, look at the shit with Michkov. Like his dad died. I'm pretty sure his dad got murdered, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
But it's hard to project certain guys when like things like they just don't give you the scouting reports, or you can't watch some games, or there's a coach gets all pissed off because God forbid you thought you could go play in America. Like what happened with the kid for the Montreal pick. He got like sent to like the minor league equivalent and like sat a bunch of games because the head coach knew he was leaving next year to go to Montreal, and he's like, well, I don't like that. I'm like, okay, so ruin a kid's development because you got a fucking shitty attitude.
Yeah, the KHL's fucking falling
off.
off.
It is. It's awful. But yeah, I don't know how we got onto Russian prospects, but I saw a stat where how they would be like, oh, professional leagues in the in the world, here's how we rank them. Obviously, the NHL is number one, and the KHL was number two for a really long time. The AHL has surpassed it as next best thing.
Yeah, then I wouldn't be surprised if the Swedish league surpasses it soon.
Yeah, the SHL is producing some really good players really quickly,
such as Carl Lindbaum.
Carl Lindbaum, he's been good, and guys like there's plenty of guys that are coming out of that league already ready to play. Lucas Carlson is one of them. And there's guys coming out there better, and you obviously have less of a fight bringing them from fucking Sweden than Russia, right? Like you get on a plane, they're like, okay, or
they're not to sneak out in the middle of the night,
smuggle them out of a hotel in fucking Poland.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, I FedExed my gear 2 days ago, and I'm gonna make a break for the airport at 2 a.m.
Isn't that what happened to Evgeny Malkin?
Yeah,
he was like in a tournament like in Canada or something, or like a United States ally, and like he just like left his hotel room like 2 a.m. and with all of his shit and got into a car and just came to Pittsburgh.
Yep, and he was like, I'm all right, I'm here now. I'm not
going
exactly.
Back.
Yeah,
yeah,
you made it.
Yeah,
there's no fucking iron curtain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but back to teams. So we play the Blues tomorrow, right?
Yes.
And
then we play them again on Thursday. It's a home and home.
Okay, so they play here tomorrow, and then they go to St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah.
Okay, so it's like a little short weekend. I think we play the Panthers on Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to start. Well, that's the thing. That's why I felt it was really important to win these games, these very winnable games, because the schedule's going to tighten back up here.
Yeah. No, totally.
Let me pull it up if any one of these smartphone apps decide to,
your smartest of smartphones.
Because at first I stopped using the NHL app and started using the VGK app, but that's been kind of glitchy. Okay, so St. Louis Monday, Martin Luther King Day. St. Louis again Thursday, and then that's a back-to-back. We go to Dallas.
Oh
Friday.
God, Dallas, Jesus!
So we got to play Dallas in Dallas on the second night of a back-to-back, and then 1 day off, and then we play Florida at home. 1 day off, Dallas at home.
Oh, my God.
1 day off, Columbus at home.
And Columbus has been surging, too.
Yeah, so suddenly
not as an easy of a schedule.
Suddenly, I'm, maybe the teams are like, yeah, maybe we really should have beat Nashville and Chicago at least.
Here's also the thing that I don't understand with this team sometimes is we lose to these dog shit teams, the Islanders, the Rangers, the Preds, the Blackhawks. But then we have a super close game against the Canes, a playoff game effectively against the Canes, and we beat Minnesota, we beat Dallas, we beat Winnipeg. Like, we beat these good teams, but we can't squeak out an easy win. Like I said last night, we know every game's not going to be easy. There's no givens in the NHL. Any team can beat any team any given night. But it's the fucking 2024-2025 Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah.
There's guys that are playing on that team that I have literally never heard of in my entire life.
Yeah.
Like there were
guys that are like, he's still playing?
Yeah, exactly. Like fucking Nick Hague had a little wrestling match with Pat Maroon for a minute. I'm like, why is Pat Maroon on a team? Like,
yeah.
Like nothing against Pat Maroon, but I don't think he does much for a team that needs to play hockey.
Yeah, well, neither does Nick Foligno.
Exactly.
And God, I love him, but neither does Alec Martinez.
No, it's just old big body.
Which is funny because one of the main guys on the Athletics podcast is Mark Lazarus, who also is the beat guy for Chicago.
Yeah.
And, I think this is when they fired the coach, and everyone's like, well, why the hell would they do that? Like, were they actually expecting to be good? And he's like, well, yeah, they signed all these vets to try to start climbing out of it and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I don't think they expected, so-and-so to play like this, or, I don't think they thought they were going to get this version of Alec Martinez. I'm like, well, did their scouts not watch a single Vegas game last year?
He's
like
was
fucking
37, 38 years old.
Yeah,
he was injured for most of the season. Like, he was not very good.
And let me be clear. I fucking love Alec Martinez.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorites. But let's be
real.
real.
But his kind of game.
He aged out pretty fucking hard.
Yeah. And his kind of game caught up to him.
He barely even played the whole second half of the year.
Yeah.
The only time he got any ice time is when they were trying to give fucking Hague and Whitecloud a wake up call.
Yeah.
They put in Hague and Martinez, or put in
Hunt Martinez. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, he his type of gameplay really caught up with him in the last two. After the Cup run, really caught up with him last year. I mean, the man blocks shots every night, or was blocking shots.
He eats pucks for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Was doing great things, but. That gameplay is going to come up to you, and like you said, like what would you expect to get from Alec Martinez? Important minutes? No. Like what do you expect to get from Pat Maroon? Pat Maroon hasn't been a contributor on the ice since he played like in fucking Anaheim. Like he's just been a big bruiser body that can fight.
Yeah. This is all to say that these are all players that we lost to last
night. He lost to, and we lost some fucking mutant name like Louis Crevier, like that's like 6'8", 230. I'm like,
also, just to go back to the schedule real quick. So we went through the next 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that third week is the last week before Four Nations break, and it's a 4-game road trip.
Oh my god,
East Coast road trip: Rangers, Islanders, Jersey, Boston.
Yeah, it's that hard one.
And then, I guess I'm just forecasting the fucking rest of the fucking year now. And then, literally the day after the tournament ends, we play at home against Vancouver. So
a lot of hard games in the next month.
A third of our team is going to hop on a plane after the tournament, come home, and then play a division rivalry game, which by the time this game happens, it might be a fight for the fucking wild card spot.
Yeah, and fortunately, at least in that game, they also have a few guys coming to the tournament too, like Hughes and JT Miller, Pedersen. There's some guys coming to that tournament too. But like you said, there's a lot of games jammed in there, right? Before the break, and we gotta to even hope to stay, 1 or 2. You gotta win.
I'm gonna say
like half of them at least.
We're going to have to win at least one of the St. Louis games.
Yeah.
At least one of the Dallas games.
Yep.
The Columbus game, the Islanders game, and the Boston game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all these, like we said, all these games are winnable.
Maybe the Florida game. They're kind of falling apart.
Yeah. All these games are winnable. It's just the team has to want to win the game.
Yeah.
We can't start off slow. Yeah. And bring it back to what some of these other top teams in the league. Florida's been really slumping.
Yeah.
And Florida has been slumping. The Jets have been good, but it's because Connor Hellebuck's an animal, and but the Florida has been up and down, and they've been down a lot. They're obviously they just won a cup. They're gonna have here's when the cup hangover hits. Like we've said before, you've said before. It's like the cup hangover isn't when it starts the year. The cup hangover is fucking January.
Yeah.
Once you start feeling it.
When the excitement's all gone and you're fucking tired as fuck.
Yeah.
And there's no breaks in your schedule.
They're hitting that wall. And Boston's is completely fallen off. Boston's only cushioned by how mediocre.
How bad the rest of that conference is.
Yeah, it's
I'm more worried about the Columbus game than the Boston game. But
and Columbus has been good, and they've been really good. It's just like this team has got a better game plan, better coaching, better talent than I would say the teams we were just talking about that are slumping. They've got everything they need to do. It's just like you said, they have to want to win, and I'm sure they do. Like these are professional athletes; they want to win, but
they have to get into that next gear. There's the gear that you're at, that all professional athletes are at, and they want to win, but where it seems like they're giving their all, but then I think as we've seen over the years, there's that true next gear.
Yes.
Only a few teams can get into, and they can only do it for certain stretches.
Yeah, and this team is definitely one of those teams.
Yeah, like us, like fucking. Much as I hate them, Edmonton can do it. Colorado can do it. Dallas can do it.
You think John Klingberg can do it?
Alex. Ekholm, Bouchard, Emberson, Kulak, Klingberg, Nurse. This is a cup-winning defense.
Darnell Nurse has been a lot better this year, but how much is a lot better than absolute dog shit, right?
Exactly.
When your floor is a terrible defenseman, you could look a lot better this year. But John Klingberg, I know we're in a slump, and we're throwing stones.
I don't care how much of a slump we're in. I will always talk about how bad the fucking Oilers fucking roster is.
Yeah, we're throwing stones in glass houses, but John Klingberg, if I was an Edmonton Oilers fan, I would absolutely not be happy with this. I've seen some online that aren't happy with it at all, but like, what does John Klingberg do for you as the Oilers? He was awful in Toronto. Yeah, he was holding an injury, but he had hip surgery. Mm-hmm. Gabriel Landeskog hasn't played a hockey game in 2 years, or no longer than that. When did they win the Cup? 21? 22.
The year before us.
So 22. He hasn't played a hockey game in 3 years, and he had hip surgery. And you're telling me John Klingberg, a guy that really depended on offense and wasn't a defensive guy, he wasn't a shutdown guy.
At his best, Klingberg was an offensive defenseman that was really good at passing and could not defend to save his life.
So now you have two of those on your team?
Yeah, two of those on your team. And then this one, he never could defend, but now he's also coming off of, as you said, a hip surgery and hasn't played in fucking months.
Yeah, the saving grace of Evan Bouchard is that, one, he's durable, but also, two, that he's pretty fast, right?
Yeah, and he's young.
And he can move. He's got good instincts moving the puck in the offensive zone. John Klingberg is 33, 34, but he's had hip surgery. He's got a lot of hard miles on him.
Well, I'll just never forget that when Toronto put him on LTIR, they're like, "What happened?" It's like, well, he took a flight. We took a long flight across the country, and he just like couldn't get out of his seat. I'm like, oh, so he was. Well, that's when I remember that, because I was really pissed. I'm like, oh, so you guys don't believe fucking Mark Stone's spleen was lacerated, but you do believe that Toronto's worst and one of their most expensive defensemen got taken out of commission by a fucking long plane ride.
He's got fucking he's got fucking bed sores on his ass because he couldn't get up from the seat.
I fucking guess.
But yeah, then he ended up having hip surgery and just hasn't played hockey. That's the thing, like. And they still say that Edmonton's in the market for, a top 4 defenseman. I'm like, but who is on the market? That's the problem. Yeah. Like
Seth Jones.
He gets paid more than Darnell Nurse does. You can't afford him, and he still has term on his contract. They have to pay Bouchard after this season. They haven't had negotiations with Evan Bouchard because he's on his last year's RFA deal. Mm-hmm. Like Rasmus Anderson's made it very clear that he will not play in Edmonton or Vancouver. He said he absolutely. I think that there's only one man that hates Edmonton more than we do, and that's fucking Rasmus Anderson.
Yep.
he came out. And he's like, I hate that. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So he will veto those trades if he ever had to go there. Yeah. He does not want to go to either team. But I think it's just the teams that you would think would sell. I don't think would sell. Like I don't think. Nashville's going to sell anybody, right? Or anybody of merit.
Yeah.
You can't sell Brady Skay. Is it Shea? Shea. Brady Shea. I keep calling him Ski, but Brady Shea, you can't sell that contract. You're not selling anything else on that team. And what does San Jose have to sell? Mario Ferrara's not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, they won't keep him.
Yeah, they're going to keep him. And the Rangers and the Islanders are going to delude themselves into that they can still compete.
Mm-hmm.
But again, who is on those teams that you're going to want to sell? Adam Fox isn't going to get sold.
No.
Maybe Keandre Miller, but he's not been good this year. And with like the Islanders, you got Pelican Pollock, but they also both are on long-term deals still. It's a lot of money. And there's more forwards this year than before, right? There's a lot of forwards out there that could be bought, but I think the problem with the defensemen is that the teams that have a plethora of defense aren't selling because they're good.
Well, yeah, and
the Jets aren't selling. We're not selling.
Exactly.
LA's not selling.
And I think that's kind of that's going to be a running theme for all deals this year is not a lot of teams are going to be selling, period.
No.
Defensemen or forwards or goalies because too many of them are too close to the damn playoff line. Fucking 4/5 of the goddamn Eastern Conference is within striking.
Yeah, I mean, we
we
talked about it. We talked about when we went over the Eastern Conference in the summer. The parity in this league, because of the salary cap increasing, has gotten a lot closer. Fucking Columbus is wild card 1 as of today.
Yeah,
the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. I feel like they're going to make it.
I think dude, like they're all like I know Sean Monahan went on IR, but they are easily one of the most exciting. People want to talk about the Habs. The Columbus Blue Jackets are easily one of the most exciting teams in the league right now.
Oh yeah,
those boys are flying. Adam Fantilli is back and playing well.
I saw this fucking post from I don't know BR Open Ice or Bar Down or one of the popular accounts, and I was like, are the Montreal Canadiens the best team in hockey right now? Or no, not the best team. The best story in hockey right now, and I'm like,
what's the story?
Not exactly. I'm like, no, fucking Columbus.
Columbus is. Their best player was killed in the offseason, and they are playing a great game despite being picked to finish last by everybody everywhere.
Because I know I picked Montreal last, but all these fucking little pundits are like, well, actually, I don't know, Montreal and Ottawa. I'm like, no, fuck Montreal, fuck Ottawa.
Yeah.
Fucking Columbus.
Yeah, give me Columbus. I mean,
Columbus Blue Jackets, man.
They might get wild card 1 or 2, and yeah, I know we say that who gets sacrificed to the Caps because the Caps are playing really well, but they can make it in as they can give someone some problems. Look what they did against Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
remember?
Well, and I feel like it's just one of those things where it's like, well, yeah, underestimate them at your own peril because that fucking Voronkov and fucking
Marchenko, and that's got a lot of Russian forwards. Voronkov, Marchenko, Chinikov is back and he's really good. Sean Monahan was great between those guys.
I didn't bring him up last episode, but when we're talking about awards, I'm like, fucking outthrow Sean Monahan in the Selke conversation.
Yeah, he's been great.
He has great defensive numbers.
And Fantilli is playing well. I think Boone Jenner. No, he's out right for the season.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't know.
It's all without Boone Jenner.
I don't know who's out for the season, but they have a lot. They've been missing. I know you said like, oh, Monahan's on IR. I'm like, pretty sure a lot of those guys have been on IR like for longer than we realize, and they still are fighting into their way into this spot.
Yeah, and Kent Johnson's been playing really well too. And
so if these guys come back at the end of the season and they're back for the playoffs,
or if they make a move, like what if they make a move with like Boston, because Boston has been dog shit.
Yeah,
Boston's been fucking awful. Like you don't like Columbus be like, we got a shit ton of money and we got a lot of prospects.
We got a lot of picks, got a lot of prospects.
Can we have Elias Lindholm please for?
Yeah, exactly.
Like he's not doing shit there. Let me look at Columbus's lineup right now and see how they're doing. And this is also a testament to that front office and the players. Obviously, it's a terrible thing that happened. But also another testament to how good of a coach Dean Evison is.
No, for real.
Like, I was very surprised he got fired in Minnesota.
Yeah. And to be fair, John Hines has been more than doing.
Oh, he's been doing great.
At the same time, yeah, I'm like, you shouldn't have fired Dean Evison. He didn't deserve it.
Okay, listen to all these guys that are on IR for Columbus: Sean Monahan, Justin Danforth, who's a good bottom sixer. Mm-hmm. Igor Chinikov is a very good top six forward. Boone Jenner, and then old man Eric Goodbranson. So
that's a significant
4 forwards, and so
including your first line center.
And so right now they've got Voronkov, Antilli, Marchenko. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. They have JVR.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He's on the line with Sillinger and Kent Johnson, and then Zach Aston Reese, and the rookie Del Bell Bolues. He's young, and then Matthew Olivier has been really good too. Mm-hmm. They got some Kevin LeBlanc's playing on that team, so they've got some veterans on the team. Zach Werenski's been amazing. He's been incredible. And then Dante Fabro, Provorov's actually been pretty good for them. He was bad for a little bit, but I would take Columbus over a good amount of teams, right now, right? Mm-hmm. And I know everyone wants to get on a hype train, but get on the Columbus hype train. Get off the Habs train.
No, for real. Well said.
And the Habs, the Columbus Blue Jackets have not blown a 3-0 goal lead and let 7 unanswered goals in one night.
Yeah, no, for real, they haven't.
I as much as I hate the Oilers, I also hate the Habs. Well, it's because of that playoff series.
It's because of the playoff series and because of their fans and fucking.
It's almost like the YouTube heard us. 10 must-eat Montreal restaurants, part 2.
Well, I was gonna say, and that's the sad thing is I would love to visit the city of
Montreal. Looks beautiful. It looks like a pretty cool place. It's like a little, it's got a little bay, and
it looks like it's like a European city.
Yeah.
In North America with really good places to eat.
Yeah, it looks pretty awesome. But yeah,
it what really 2 things that I heard recently that cracked me up was I think it was Spittin' Chicklets. They had, some beat writer for Montreal on the pod.
Yeah.
And the way this, obviously, he's going to pump their tires and all that. But, the way that, he just seemed to get, personally offended if there was ever any pushback from the guys on any aspect of Montreal's game or players.
Oh, yeah. They both play. I know Biz was a plug his entire career, but...
He played. He understands.
He played,
the game.
And then Ryan Whitney would play for a really long time.
Yeah, he was like a top 4
defenseman.
Yeah,
he was. He's a good player, but they think those guys also pump the Habs tires, but they also bring people back down to earth. Like
exactly,
you said, the guy got offended by them just saying, "Well, there's these kind of obvious issues." That's also the thing that kills me is there's obvious issues with every team, right? But the bad ones, it's pretty glaringly obvious. It's obvious that Patrick Laine has had 1 even strength goal almost this entire year.
Hemorrhages chances.
That defense is not very good. Outside Lane Hudson, it's a great offensive defenseman. As much as we give Lane Hudson shit, he's a good young offensive defenseman. Don't get me wrong. A lot of teams would love to have him. But the kid can't play defense.
Yeah, and it's funny because the other thing that I heard that I was going to bring up...
Sam Montembeault sucks.
Yeah, truly. But the Athletic, Corey Pronman's their guy that analyzes prospects, and
I saw this, yeah.
Yeah, so he's been getting pushback lately for some of his rankings, and I forgot... He had him in tears, and I forgot, how it went, but... basically he's never been as high on Lane Hudson as everyone else, and what cracks me up is this latest ranking he actually moved him up a tier because it was
Lane or Cole
Lane, and he moved him up because he's like, oh yeah,
he's had his first year,
exactly, we've seen more of him and this and this and this, and then people were just fucking nitpicking every fucking word that he said, every adjective that he used to describe his game. He's like, oh, so you're saying that his skating is only above average, but 2 sentences ago you said that the way that he, uses his feet is great. So you're just contradicting yourself.
That's not contradicting. It's saying
it's just
that
having someone having a normal conversation.
His skating is good, but his positioning is average to bad.
Yeah,
it's 2 different things.
But anyway, his point being,
I'll use that example. Mark Stone's skating is dog shit. Yeah. Mark Stone's not a very good skater at all. He's never been. But his positioning and his footwork is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what really cracked me up is one of the guys on that podcast is a Montreal guy. And thankfully he was, not taking anything too seriously. And
on the Athletic podcast?
Yeah. Not taking anything too seriously and not, being a fucking
losing his mind,
not being a weird psycho about it. But Sean McIndoe is on that podcast, and he was just like laughing, and he just like cut everyone off. He's like, listen, Montreal fans, like, I am sorry that someone took a break from the uninterrupted train of praise and smoke getting blown up this kid's ass from every fan and every writer in every way possible for the last fucking 8 months. I'm sorry that one person had one moderately different opinion and had to interrupt the train for you guys. I'm sure you'll survive.
Well, we're clipping this part of the podcast. Jacob's
no, because those aren't my words. It's someone else's words.
Jacob Parrott's unending hate. I'm joking, but that's the thing that's also again, I'm not saying Lane Hudson's a bad player. He's good. What I'm saying is we've parried this before, and we've gotten it's. I don't know. We're not even at an hour yet. We've talked about it a lot, but how the certain markets will overhype these poor kids to the point of putting all your hopes and dreams into a 19, 20-year-old.
Yeah,
which I think
Buffalo. Jack Eichel.
Yeah, which I think is different for us. Because, we've had some picks where like, oh yeah, these guys are good. Like, we were excited about the Edstrom pick, right? Because it was just like, we were both like, yeah, it fits our system perfectly. Yeah, we traded him, but he's big, he can play two ways, and he's got a good scoring touch.
We were all pretty excited for Cody Glass.
Yeah, I don't think all of us were, but and then like some people were excited about Brisson, but like tempered. But then again, we've never had a pick, that high, right?
And I think it's just because of the manner in which our team was built. We were built with an expansion roster. An expansion roster and our GM fleecing other GMs for protection.
There's prospects I'm excited about personally, like Trevor Connolly played really well in the juniors. He's been playing pretty well in Providence. He's playing pretty good. Thomas Ronan was great also in the juniors. And Cataford played pretty well for Canada. And, there's guys that to be excited about, but not to the point where, like Lane Hudson, he's somehow going to change your franchise's entire outlook. There's only a few of those generational prospects. Even then, they cannot do it by yourself. Like you said, see Jack Eichel. Mm-hmm. Jack Eichel, for whatever reason, the Pagulas thought, oh yeah, we got this one great guy. Let's just not build around him.
Yeah.
Let's just give him dog shit for years, right?
Or try to build around him, but just do it completely incorrectly.
And like with Connor McDavid, at least they drafted Leon Draisaitl the year before, right? And they're like, okay, well, we're gonna tank again because we know we can get McDavid, and they get McDavid, and they somewhat built around him, but I think it was just the old way of hockey thinking of like, oh, you got two top flight guys, you can put garbage around them, be good.
Yeah, you can put Zach Cassian on the line with them,
and they'll be okay. Which is not the case, and that's just the way they thought. But at least they have McDavid a running mate with Draisaitl, and they had Wright, Nugent Hopkins. They had some guys, right, that they're in their own right are good hockey players. And I'm not saying that nobody else is good on Montreal, but you also have to temper your expectations when it comes to prospects. Like, I'm tempering my expectations on anybody that comes through the Vegas pipeline, because you just don't know, because a lot of these guys are later picks. Like Carl Lindblom has been good. He's also had some pretty fucking bad games in the AHL. Like he's also 20 years old.
Yeah.
Again, let these kids grow and play. Like, they're not done growing yet. It's like that favorite story we have about fucking Leo Carlson is Wolverine bones.
Yeah. And the doctor was like, hey, his
bones aren't set yet.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, this kid's still growing. They're like, oh shit.
It's like, where'd you find him? Yeah, and I mean, we can shit on Montreal for 5 minutes, but I think the East is like, I don't know, comparatively to the East and the West, I feel like the West is way more competitive, and that's why I'm worried about a slump, because we can, like we talked about, we can go from first. Luckily, Edmonton didn't win, down to third in a matter of a week.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Just because how good Edmonton and LA have been, not how good, just how they're winning.
For most of the season, it's like, okay, we're in first by a big stretch, then LA, and then a little gap, and then Edmonton. Well, now it's like Edmonton and LA are neck and neck, and they're both
no
right
Edmonton.
on our ass.
Edmonton's tied with us. We both have 61 points.
Yeah, well, okay, so there you are.
And LA's only like 4 or 5 points behind us.
Yeah, so
I think LA's got like 56, and we've got 61.
LA's probably like, you know what, just let Edmonton take it. We don't want to play them in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could bring that back around. I think this year's different to where I think they could take Edmonton in the first round because they're better, but I don't think you want to play Connor McDavid again in the first round, right?
Yeah, I think what it really is whether people like it or not.
Yeah.
The first round, they're still calling penalties.
Mm-hmm.
And so if McDavid is getting those power play reps, you're going to start fucking hemorrhaging goals.
I mean, I think a Vegas LA series is going to be a knife fight, right? If we're second or third.
I definitely don't want to underestimate LA because they're
good. And they have our number.
Even when they were bad, they always
played well. Yeah, and they're a very good team, and they're a very heavy team. But did you see? Speaking of very good team, was the stat was like Kevin Fiala, I think, has been dog shit for them this year. Like he's been legit awful.
Well, he was bad last year.
Was he? I didn't.
Pierre-Luc Dubois took all the.
Gotcha.
He took all the bad press, but Kevin Fiala was fucking awful.
I didn't realize he was that bad.
He's kind of been awful. So I don't know what the plan is there.
I mean, maybe he goes back and they get a defenseman or something. But also, if you're Edmonton, like if you're Edmonton, you kind of don't want to win the division, right? Because that kind of locks you into playing the wild card one more than likely, because you're probably gonna if you're Edmonton, you want to win the division. If you're any of us, right, any of the three of the top end teams in the Pacific, you want to win the division because that means you're going to get. You want to win. If you win the division, you want to win the conference because that means you're going to get wild card 2, which will probably be Vancouver or Calgary. You could win; those are all winnable. That's winnable series for everybody. What you don't want is you finish second to like the Jets and you get fucking Colorado or Dallas or Minnesota as a wild card 1, because that's gonna. As we know, we've been through it many times. We've been through that meat grinder of the top end of the playoff bracket. We went through it last year. We went through it the Cup season. We played the Jets. I know we won that series 4-1, but it was closer than you thought.
Yeah.
We played Colorado. It's not fun. To go through that grind of those teams.
We got through them okay, but when you stop and reflect, it's like, yeah, damn, we really had to play Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Dallas on the way to playing the Panthers.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's that the non COVID tournament season where we played Minnesota, and then we played Colorado, and then we got that was the COVID season, right? We played Minnesota, played Colorado, and then lost to fucking Montreal. Mm-hmm. Like we've been through those meat grinders. You don't want to start your series off in the meat grinder. Look at Dallas. Dallas went through us. They beat Colorado. It was close. And then they lost to Edmonton because they were ground down by that point. Mm-hmm. Now is the time. I know it's early to look at the playoffs, but it's getting close. Playoffs are coming fast. You want to secure those top end positions to not play those deadly teams that could be a wild card 1 or 2.
There's another reason I was really trying to savor the holiday time, because after the holidays, everything just seems to move and fast forward.
Yes, yeah, and then suddenly you're at the holidays again.
I'm okay with that, but
yeah, exactly. But summer comes faster, and you only got so much of the hockey season left.
Yeah, pretty soon, well, I'm gonna have to get a new car because we're not gonna be able to record here because it'll be like 90 degrees.
Yeah, we'll record at my house.
Yeah, because it's gonna be fucking too hot here. Pretty soon we'll be wearing shorts and t-shirts and sweating and
drinking beers in my backyard.
Yeah, agonizing over fucking playoff seating.
Hey, it's supposed to be like 25 degrees overnight in the next couple nights, so savor it while you can.
I am. It was actually pretty nice last night. I got to wear sweatpants and a thermal and get cuddled with the dogs underneath both blankets, my big fluffy fucking medieval king blankets.
Yeah, we were out downtown Summerlin.
Shit around my neck, and I was just like, oh yeah.
We were out downtown Summerlin, and I could feel the chill in the air before the game. I'm like, I need to go buy some pants in this Old Navy. I had a deal found a deal for buy one get one 50% off on jeans. I'm like, oh man, yeah, it's cold outside.
Yep.
And it's a one time a year. Kind of bringing that back around to the Golden Knights. Do you think I don't think we really talked about this with the announcement of the Panthers and Lightning getting separate games for a Winter Classic and a Stadium Series. Do you think Vegas gets one in the next 5 years here in Vegas? And if we do, who do you think should be the team that they play?
So I think we do. I'm going to say with confidence that we do, because I really think Bill Foley and Kelly McCrimmon have made it known that they agreed to the Seattle one because we're expecting one in return. And like it or not, certain owners and certain GMs just have more pull than others. You know, Kelly McCrimmon, Jim Neal, fucking whoever owns fucking Toronto.
The conglomerate that owns Toronto.
Yeah. You know, we're in that, like it or not, folks, we're in that upper echelon.
Yeah.
That's how we managed to strip Ottawa's first round pick from them, as they love to remind us.
Hey, all I had to do is not lie, right?
Yeah. Crazy, right? What a concept.
Unheard of.
Don't lie on the trade call. Crazy.
Yeah.
It's Vegas' fault.
Yeah.
But anyways, so will we get one? Yes. I think it's really going to be contingent on where is it going to be, and if the league is going to push back a little bit and say, like, well, you can't really have a Winter Classic at the fucking Raiders Stadium because it looks too fucking modern. And if the Oakland ballpark gets built, yeah, baseball parks at their nature feel old school, but this one looks like it's supposed to be super fucking modern. I think so maybe they're just gonna say, let's just make this a Stadium Series.
Yeah, I'll parrot a talking point from Empty Netters, where the Seattle game was cool, and definitely very cool to see that game in the baseball stadium. But baseball stadiums are not conducive to a hockey game, to a hockey watching experience.
Well, it was from where we sat, because you picked some good seats,
from
buddy.
where we sat. Cause I made the point of looking where the ice was going to be and putting us up into the corners, like, because we both like sitting in the corners, right, to see everything. I made it a point to like do like the visual math and be like, oh, I think it'll be here, and then I'll be up here. But whereas like you see the Chicago game, it's just so hard to see anything, right? And even like watching replays from our Winter Classic, I'm like, if the camera is positioned, in a tape, you can't move it where you're positioning for baseball. It's hard to see. And there's all the baseball stadiums in the fucking nation are all a little bit different, right? Nothing's all the same measurements and the same setup. Like having one in Boston is a nightmare because of the green monster, and it looks hideous. And Wrigley Field's like fucking 150 years old.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think it'd be a Stadium Series, but it's smarter to have it in a football stadium. It's the same shape.
Yeah.
It's
plop the ice right in the middle.
Right in the middle. It's better views. You have more setup area.
Doesn't Allegiant have a roof though, or is it retractable?
It does. It's not retractable. It's fully enclosed. Yeah. I still that's the thing. I'm like, you don't like that, right? Because you want to be outside.
It's not an outdoor game.
It's not an outdoor game. You're just having a hockey game indoors. Maybe they did,
but somewhere else.
Maybe if they did like a special, we're gonna have a game, a Vegas game. We're gonna play it at Allegiant Stadium. It's gonna be a special game.
Yeah,
that's a different thing. But a Stadium Series and a Winter Classic, you want it outside.
Let's just have it at Sam Boyd.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah,
fucking cold ass bleachers. Fucking, and then the ice melting from all the sun reflecting onto the ice, like at Tahoe. Jesus. No, like but we could find some place, like you said, but like it gets hard because I think that the new baseball stadium, if it ever gets built, is going to have partially retractable roof too because of the heat, obviously.
Yeah, but even then, I'm like, well, yeah, just open that bitch up.
And it'll be cold. Hopefully cold enough. If they can have it in Florida, they can have it in Vegas, right? But as to like an opponent, who do you think would be an opponent? Like you would want to say Edmonton, right? But they get the Heritage Classic.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not always as simple as, rivals, because I wouldn't call fucking Florida and the Rangers rivals.
No.
I think they would
want a marquee matchup that would make someone travel.
I mean, do they? Because, they put Chicago in this one, so maybe they don't care so much.
True.
But let's just go with that assumption that they do want a marquee matchup. They're not going to do a rematch with Seattle.
No.
I feel like it would.
L.A.?
As I say, I was kind of leaning towards L.A. because we technically have played Colorado in a outdoor game.
Yeah, it would be L.A. I would say, it would be considering, if they re-sign Jamie Benn, Tyler Sagan's still there, if they're all there in the next 3 to 4 years, Dallas would be a good, because we've had our fair share of the Dallas Stars in our existence.
Yeah, I would say that, and who might be a sleeper pick? We always have nasty games, Minnesota.
Yeah, and they that's the definition of an outdoor team. But yeah, I mean, we're at like what a little over an hour. So your lucky fucking ass is off tomorrow because apparently for now the U.S. government respects Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure. Wouldn't be surprised if they try to rename it or just take it away.
Yeah, and I work tomorrow because my job hates black people apparently.
Well, yeah, it's housing.
Even though I can guarantee you almost all the other builders are going to be off tomorrow. It just happens that way. But you got your day off tomorrow. You're going to probably mull the game all day.
Yeah, so the game's at 3 p.m. So I am planning to go to the brewery, and in honor of Dr. King, I will be day drinking and possibly smoking cigarettes and seeing how this game goes.
You know what? Depending on how the day goes, I might show up not to smoke cigarettes, but to watch the game. I mean, just to bring it in over the next week, so we won't talk again until like next Sunday or whatever. Both the Blues games are very winnable, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Benner's not been as good as he's been in previous years. The defense is okay. Broberg has been better. The offense, they're a very beatable team. They're just kind of a team that's there, right? And they're right in the middle. But what worries me is that the teams that we say this about, we lose to: the Blackhawks, the Predators, the Rangers, the Islanders.
I was going to say they're all winnable until they're not.
Yeah, they have to come out and win this game. Like, they need to win one of these games. And then on, what'd you say, it was Thursday or Friday was the Dallas game?
Friday. It's the second half of a back-to-back, St. Louis to Dallas.
And it's in Dallas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be at like 4 p.m.
Yeah, and then we got to come day off and then back to Vegas for that Sunday.
Pretty busy for Florida. Ugh.
And then Dallas again. And then
I would hope we win both Blues games, have a close game against the Preds, not the Preds, I'm sorry, close game against the Stars and the Panthers. I mean, we got to win. We got to win at least 2 of these games this week.
Yeah, so let's just simplify it. In the next 2 weeks, we have 2 games against St. Louis, 2 against Dallas, 1 against Florida, 1 against Columbus. I think for whatever reason, teams always struggle to beat the same team either back-to-back or close to each other.
Yeah.
So if we can split the St. Louis and split the Dallas and then win either the Florida or the Columbus game, I would feel like we're back on track.
Yeah. I mean, last time we played Florida, it was super, super close. That was the beginning of the season.
And that's when they were really going. They were really going still, and we weren't.
We weren't. We were bad to start the season, and Sammy had a great game. So I think it'd be close. That's gonna be a pretty good game. Yeah, like we said, we gotta win at least half of our games up until the break to stay healthily in knowing that we can win the division.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like we said, I mean, as much as we talk shit about Edmonton's defense, they've got a high flying enough offense that they can win regular season games very easily. In LA, it's just been good.
Yeah.
And those 2 teams have just been good. We're lucking out that Vancouver's really, really been it's been bad.
Mm-hmm.
Just been awful. And like we have like we're repeating ourselves, but Calgary is has fallen off. But those two teams are right on our coattails, or if not on top of us right now.
Oh yeah.
And then the Centrals, all those teams have better point totals than LA does. And they're all close to each other.
Feel their hands upon me.
The West is super super tight, and everybody's within 1 to 5 points of each other at any given times. Those top 8 teams, there are 7 teams because Vancouver and Calgary are like, oh, we're here. But those top teams are all right there, and in the West, I think we've said this before, is so much more competitive.
Yes.
And any given night,
it's going to be, regardless of the seeding,
we're going to be white knuckling into the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be a bitch just to get out of the second round.
Yeah, like whereas like the East, you can basically predict how those are going to go from like round 1, right? Because you're like, oh, that's pretty simple. Like we all can, like this last year, we're like, oh yeah, no, it's going to be the Rangers and the Panthers. It makes sense.
Yeah,
sure, the Panthers were a little bit of a surprise, the cup run, because they just got hot. But in the West, it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, good luck. Someone's going to get injured, and someone's probably you're going to have at least 3 games where there's going to be half the teams got 5-minute minors or 5-minute majors. There's going to be 10, game misconducts or anything like that. So, speaking of game misconducts, fucking Connor McDavid trying to decapitate.
Yeah, Connor McJesus. Well, this was after he elbowed someone in the head.
Oh, yeah, we haven't talked about
and sent him to IR.
Yeah,
but that was a flop.
That was a flop.
I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, that was a flop. But was that Marcus Johansson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's Minnesota.
Yeah, and then what was the response? Like, well, what do you expect? What they didn't call that slew foot on Hartman against Draisaitl. I'm like, okay, maybe the refs were bad. It's not an excuse to elbow somebody in the chin and take him out of the game.
Well, my favorite part was, my favorite part is always winding up Oilers fans online. It's like my favorite thing to do. Because I commented on this is my favorite genre of Reddit post. It's when someone's team has a non-call against them and they fucking clip it and they post it on Reddit and they use like a pseudo non-editorialized name for the post where they say like fucking whoever kicks the feet out from under Draisaitl, period, no call on the play. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
They don't clip the context of the play.
Exactly. The context of the play, the context of the game.
Yeah.
Every other, and here's the thing, folks. Every fucking game has a million things go uncalled.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. And guess what? Why don't you go ahead and clip the fucking McDavid elbow?
Yeah. And that
I
was...
should have just posted that, like, oh, fucking...
Here's a gif of...
Connor McDavid elbows Jonas Johansson in the fucking head. He leaves the game injured. No call on the play.
Or like clip every single spearing call that Draisaitl's ever had that doesn't get called. But like that elbow, like with the context of the Draisaitl, was it a trip? Yeah, I agree it was a penalty.
Yeah.
It wasn't called. I'm not saying it wasn't, but it was also the puck was coming around. They're playing it. Ryan Hartman's a shitty player. Like he's a dickhead. He's gonna do that shit. Whereas the McDavid thing, Marcus Johansson was just skating to the bench and McDavid looks at him, puts his elbow down, looks at him again, and just gives him pops him. And they're like, that was a big flop. I'm like, if you got elbowed in the chin going 15 miles an hour by something also going 15 miles an hour, you're going to fucking throw your head back too. Your brain doesn't work.
That's my favorite thing is like all these fucking fat, schlubby nerds that have never done anything physical in their lives. That's a flop. I'm like, I'm sorry, have you ever been elbowed in the fucking head?
Yeah, elbowed in the head by a grown super athlete. Like,
yeah. Again, while skating, you're even when you're trying to go slow, you're going fast.
Yeah, you're
going faster
moving
than you would be on
exactly.
foot.
And then he follows that up with the Connor Garland thing. And again, in context, you see the whole play. Garland is
being a shithead.
That's Connor Garland's game. He's small. He's got to be a shithead. It's a Brad Marchand game. It's the way that you have to play to get minutes as a smaller guy.
Yeah, and to me, like my whole thing with this or with any play, the
refs could have called something at any given time.
Exactly.
But you have to play through it. If they're not, Like
exactly. One, you have to play through it, and two, just because it's understandable why someone did something, it doesn't make it less, doesn't make it less against the rules.
Yeah, you can't cross-check someone in the fucking eyeball.
Like I understand why McDavid got mad. I would have gotten mad too.
Yeah.
I probably would have also cross-checked him in the face.
But you also have to
that
understand
doesn't make cross-checking not against the rules.
Yeah. I don't know if they published they said he's getting a hearing. It's probably gonna be today or tomorrow. But comparatively on that same play that right after it happened, Tyler Myers, big dumbass, decided he was gonna cross-check Bouchard really fucking hard, square in the jaw. And Tyler Myers deserves to get suspended for that too. They both do. It's I said, it's fucking play.
It's like I understand why, because there have been times with Vegas players where someone crosses the line. I'm like, well, yeah, I understood why he did it, and I'm glad he did it, but I'm not going to pretend that it wasn't a penalty.
No, yeah,
I'm glad you showed some pushback and you fucking whacked him.
Yeah,
I'm still glad that Alex Pietrangelo fucking slashed the shit out of Leon Draisaitl. Right. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't a dirty play, or it didn't,
it didn't deserve a penalty, or didn't deserve a suspension.
Didn't deserve disciplinary action. It is what it is. I'm still glad he did it.
Yeah,
I understand why
in
he
the
did
context
it,
of
but that doesn't mean it's not against the rules.
Exactly. Just because your star does it doesn't mean it's against the rules. And I hope, I know it's not going to happen, because Tyler Myers is going to get watched. He's going to get 3 games, 3 to 5 games. Connor McDavid is going to get 1.
So Connor McDavid's going to pay a $2,000 fine.
You think he's going to get a fine? No, it would have to be the maximum fine, because it was a 10-minute game misconduct. So, who was it? Someone had it happens all the time, but someone got a major thing for kneeing, and they got fined. The maximum amount was like $5,000, which is fucking nothing. But for them, whereas I know in the context of it, sure, you get heated, but he could have fucking broken Connor Garland's neck. He could have broken his orbital bone. He could have permanently injured Connor Garland.
Yeah.
Same thing with Tyler Myers. Tyler Myers is bigger than Connor McDavid. Tyler Myers is fucking 6'8".
Yeah.
And got caught Bouchard
really fucking got him
hard. They both got them hard, but
knocked his fucking eyes straight with his.
Maybe now Bouchard's shots won't be as good because it's not lasered in straight into his cross eyes. But no, he got Bouchard harder than McDavid got Garland, and that's the thing is you got to be smarter if you're you're playing in a game like that where all these minutes matter. It's that funny thing of being an adult and people being like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna fight. We're gonna go fight." I'm like, guys, we're 33. We're not gonna go fight anybody. I'm
not gonna fight. It's kind of pathetic.
I don't want to go to jail or kill somebody on accident. Come on now. Those guys, we talked about it when Biz fought those fucking traveling fraud scam artists. Come on. But in this, you have to think of the consequences. And I swear to God, if there's no consequences for Connor McDavid, then that means it's free game on Connor McDavid. People are gonna be like, "Oh, that's how way he gets treated." Why did, and with Minnesota, if he didn't get suspended or fined for the Johansson elbow, and if he doesn't get anything for the Garland hit or the Garland cross check, you don't think, because I don't think Minnesota plays them again. But you don't think if they meet each other in the playoffs that it's not going to be fucking a bloodbath from day one?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then people are always like, well, they get hooked all the time because they're so fast and they don't get any calls. I'm like, well, a lot of people get hooked.
Hooking is a lot different than cross-checking someone in the head with
or elbowing someone
with an aluminum stick. It's not wood. The shit's fucking metal. Or elbowing someone in the head. It's a lot different than going tap on your.
Yeah,
I'm hitting your hand.
I'm sorry he got inconvenienced, but he didn't fuck. Like I said, there's a difference between doing that and causing someone a fucking head injury.
Yeah. You can have a sore thumb, or you could be in a hospital bed with your brain scrambled. I think I showed you that. I don't remember who the player it was, but I think it was Donald Brashear was the guy that got hit. It was in the 90s, early 2000s, and I think it was Matt Cook, but he came across and two-handed swung his stick to the back of the guy's head in a game, and it was famous because they wanted to press charges and charge him for assault. I'm like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So like it gets to the point where it can get out of hand, and Connor McDavid, like just in a week, he's gotten out of hand.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of fucking Edmonton fans like, oh, I love this. I love evil Connor. Dark Connor. Dark McDavid, even though it's just his robot programming going out of literally crossing wires.
Someone he heard our joke about his body double that we saw in
oh yeah.
God, yeah, I don't know, but kind of to end to I guess get end it. We're already at an hour and a half, and we both have things to do. I think this team, Vegas, needs to just hunker down. Like they need to, like we said, get to the point where I don't know. It's like this team, you have to hate to lose, but also it feels like they could just go, oh, we can just win, being down 0-3 any night. Like you're seeing that now that you can't. I mean, you couldn't beat the Islanders. You got shut out that game.
I hate to.
You couldn't beat the Preds. Come back 4-3 from the Preds. You couldn't come back from the Blackhawks, and those two teams have been the worst teams in the league the entire year.
Well, hopefully one lesson they've learned is, you go down 3-0 and then you tie it up. Well, guess what? It's the other team is still allowed to score.
Yeah. You can't just not let them. Yeah,
you can't put yourself in a position like, well, now we have to control fucking 48 uninterrupted minutes of game time to have a chance.
Yeah, right. And because that's literally what happened last night, where we tie it and then immediately, we dominated that entire second period. I know you were watching, you're at dinner, but we dominated that entire second period, top to bottom. And the last fucking 2 minutes, they get a chance and they score.
Yep.
And I'm like, what the fuck? What happened? You guys were, you let off the gas you completely stopped the car, let off the gas, get out of it, and you're like, okay, we're done. And it's the end of the second period. I'm like, you have a lot of hockey to play. They're not going to give up. They're a bad team, but they're not going to give up. They're not going to want to look like they got shamed into being terrible, right? Mm-hmm. There's not going to be a give up in most teams. They want to win. Are they bad? Sure, but they're not going to die lying down.
Yeah. And I hate to speak in cliches, but really, they just got to play a full fucking 60.
Yeah.
Play a complete game.
Yeah, and because we're getting back to that thing where we're not scoring early, we're not scoring first, and we're just thinking oh, we're down, we can come back. We are now realizing that that's not the case anymore. You can't go down and think you're going to do it.
Games are getting tighter. Yeah. Teams are playing tighter games.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hunker down moment. Even the teams that are going to be bad, they're going to get the Blackhawks are going to be the number 1 or number 2 pick.
Well,
but they're going to want to win games.
Tyler Toffoli's been doing appearances on Empty Netters, and he made a good point where he said, for a lot of teams, true grind time is between Christmas and the bye week because, college starts to end, teams start signing college free agents.
Yeah.
They start bringing up guys from the minors to give them a look. And even if you're on a bad team, you don't want to lose your ice time.
No.
You don't want some young kid to come in and look good, and suddenly you're playing fucking 9 minutes a night instead of 14.
Look at Edmonton. They took Jeff Skinner out for a few games, and he lost his spot and then they bumped somebody up, and Noah Phillip or something, who's a young guy for the AHL team, was playing fourth line center. You can't be complacent as a vet.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. They've got to, we talked about, they've got to do something with the lineup to where you've got to it can't be more of the same. Even if you make a little changes, move somebody up here, change the lines a little bit, you've got to shake something up, because clearly, Jack Eichel's great, Mark Stone's great, everybody's on this team is good. It's just that top line now went from really clicking to being in the zone but not really doing anything.
Yeah, I feel has Barbashev even gotten a point since he's been back?
Maybe an assist. Maybe I think an assist on something. I think maybe.
Yeah,
but nothing exciting to where now it's like we said. Thankfully, Tomas Hertl and Dorofiev are scoring. As a depth scoring, but You need Jack Eichel and Mark Stone to score. You need Ivan Barbashev. You need your top guys to score. We can't depend on, because what happens if now Hurdle and Dorofeev kind of dry up? Where is the scoring going to come from?
Exactly.
Because Karlsson's not meant to. He's not meant to score.
Yeah.
He can when he needs to, and he's generating chances. He look good when you need to, but he's not there for driving your play.
Yeah, that was one thing I forgot to mention, and we're at the end, so we don't have to get too into it.
Yeah.
But Karlsson really hasn't been doing much offensively this year.
No,
so
it's kind of concerning, but I think he's been put into the role of a Philip Deneau, two-way forward that you're going to put out there to play defense. Because Philip Deneau doesn't have great numbers, but he's a good player, right? And maybe he's been in that position to be more of a mentor to like Holtz and Schwintz and stuff. But yeah, like you said, last year Karlsson almost had another career year last year. The year before he was 30-30. Or no, last year he was 30-30. He had 60 points. He had a great year. He's not even close to that. Yeah, he didn't start for the first bit of the season, but he's still playing with talented guys. And that's a little nitpick complaint because he could pop off at any time. But I think what it's kind of driving towards is like he's not playing with, outside of Olofsson or whoever they put him with. His other wing hasn't been the most talented in the world, right? Yeah. You thought it'd be Holtz. It hasn't been Holtz. You're trying Schwint. It's kind of not Schwint, but it's on his role. He's not a scoring winger. You have to now at the trade line. You have to now find a running mate with William Karlsson. That's your goal. Scoring from three lines, let the fourth line do its thing. And that, I would say, as much as I love Karlsson, his line has been one of the only lines that he's always been on this season that's really not been noticeable, right?
Yeah, but it is also kind of like you said. I feel like he kind of gets put in this unfair situation where he's like so reliable.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the coach stressed him so much that like, okay, well, we're just gonna, whoever's struggling, we're just gonna put him with you.
Yeah,
maybe that will get them going.
But he's also always out there on PK1, and
yeah.
And we're already at hour half. We can talk about it next week, but the penalty kill's been dog shit.
Yeah.
Power play is starting to slow up, but they did score last night, I think.
Yeah, it's picked back up. That's been one of the few.
But the PK has been awful. But yeah, we'll continue that. But anyways, need to win some games. Got to win some games.
Got to.
You got to win at least.
Need those wins. Got to have them.
Yeah, got to win at least 2 games during the week. Hopefully we win, against Dallas or the Panthers, but we have to win one of these St. Louis games. Like there's no fucking choice to. But I think they can, or if not, my wife flies to Arizona. She's gonna come back, find me like glued to the bed and in a pile of like alcohol and cheeseburgers.
I thought you meant like she's gonna find my corpse melting into the bed with an empty bottle of pills next to it.
Jesus Christ. Not that far. Just drink myself to death, right?
All right, there we go.
Until then, I'm just kidding. But no, like it's just the complacency. Like that's the bottom line. Is this team needs to get out of that complacency. I think they can. They've shown they can. I mean, look at the way the year started. Pretty bad, and then they turned into one of the best teams in the league. So it's in them. It's just got to get through the slump, and that's the hardest part. Every team is going to hit a slump. And, you want to hit it now and get through it. Or you can be like the Boston Bruins and be the best team ever in the NHL and get eliminated by the wild card 2 in the first round of the playoffs. So
very true.
Well, until next week, stay gold.
Stay gold. And remember, fuck you, it's January.